February the 4th, 2024, Patrice Newhouse is retiring from the City of Dallas Park and Recreation Department after 20 years of distinguished service. Whereas in 2005, Patrice Newhouse began her career with the City of Dallas as a code inspector. Whereas in 2007, Patrice Newhouse began serving as a contractor compliance administrator within the Park and Recreation Department. In 2009, Patrice Newhouse was promoted to the position of office manager, Park and Recreation Department. Patrice Newhouse's contributions were critical to the success of the Dallas Park and Recreation Department, and her legacy will reflect her contributions in refining work processes and procedures established throughout the department. Patrice Newhouse has served as a committed colleague, mentor, recreational professional, and a leader who will be remembered for her attention to detail, professionalism, trustworthiness, organization skills, and passion to serve the City of Dallas. Be it resolved by the Park and Recreation Board and the Department of the City of Dallas that sincere appreciation is extended to Latrice Newhouse for her 20 years of devoted and tireless work so generously given to the Park and Recreation Department and the citizens of Dallas. And therefore, I, John D. Jenkins, Director, and on behalf of the Dallas Park and Recreation Department, do hereby extend special recognition to Latrice Newhouse. I also have for you, Newhouse. I also present this plaque on this day for congratulations, happy retirement with sincere appreciation for 20 years of valuable service to a new beginning, happy memories. With much respect, gratitude, and fondness, your friends and colleagues at the Dallas Park and Recreation Department. Thank you. You're here. All right. Now, if you want to say some words, okay, all right.
Dallas has been exciting. I've enjoyed each department I've worked with, employees that I've worked with. I've worked with 5 assistant directors in recreation services. 2 of them are here today. And I've enjoyed each day. It's been an exciting journey for me. That's all I'm saying.
Again, thank you, Ms. Newhouse, for your service to the City of Dallas. We greatly appreciate it. Our next item is public speakers. We'll be moving those to after our voting agenda. So moving to item number 4, approval of minutes. I have a motion. Mr. Slaughter, a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next, we got items for individual consideration. Item number 1, a lease agreement, license agreement, authorize a 5-year license training provided agreement with the American National Red Cross and its constituents charter and branches, DBA, American Red Cross, to permit the City of Dallas and Recreational Red Cross certified instructors to use Red Cross licensed training materials in the instructions of water safety training courses. American National Red Cross, sole source, total award not to exceed $150,000. Financing current funds subject to annual appropriations. I have a motion. Mr. Dickey, second. Slaughter, all in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Item number 2, concession contract. District 4, authorize a 5-year concierge contract for the operation management of a food and beverage concession service at Keys Softball Complex, WBSO Real Forward Consultant LLC, most vintage proposal of 1. total estimate net revenue, $158,774. Do I have a motion? Ms. Haskin, second. Ms. Mondale? All in favor, say aye.
Sir?
Oh, I'm sorry. Discussion. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, that's it.
Go.
Just to have possibility for discussion.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Appreciate that. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Number 3, Trinity Strand Trail, District 2 and 6. Authorize change order number 3 to decrease in the construction service contract with Roshi Co. Construction Incorporated for the construction of the Trinity Strand Trail Phase 2 from Inwood Road Dart Station to Turtle Creek Boulevard for the deletion of traffic signal foundations, addition of 3 poles protected pads, removal of cable railings, and replacement of ADA accessible ramps and turning down pavers to comply with requests from the Transportation Department, not to exceed $155,004 from $6,372,766.08 to $6,217,366.08. Financing street and transportation improvements, A Fund 2012 General Obligation Bond funded. Do I have a motion? You motion? You got a vote. You have a motion first.
I would like to have item number 3, Trinity Strands CO number 3 revised to reflect the date of January 23rd, 2025. Under committee action as being the date item is brought to Park Board, not February 6th, 2025.
With
The new motion.
the new motion, do I have a second that?
Yeah.
Mr. Slaughter? Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Chair?
Yes.
I believe our vote was just on the modification of the listing of the agenda item. Do we not still have to vote on the actual item itself? Our vote was on your motion.
Mine was on the date change, making sure it reflected the actual.
So I think we voted on that. Now we still have to vote on the actual.
Okay.
Looking to the attorneys.
Yeah, technically, that's correct, Mr. Dickey, that's correct.
Okay, so the new motion was, the new dated January 23rd. I have a second for that? Sorry, first? First? Ms. Mondale, second. Mr. Slaughter? Any discussion? Yes. Mr. Dickey?
This is discussion on the item itself.
Yes, sorry. With the new date.
With the new date, okay. Yeah, I just wanted just to ask, I guess that would be Ms. Turner, not where, any additional information the board should know about the reason for the reduction in scope, just as background.
Good morning, Chris Turner, Network Assistant Director. Park Board Member Dickey. Sorry, I'm getting used to using no mics in planning and design. So good morning, everyone. Park Board Member Dickey, basically the changes in this contract were due to the Transportation Department reducing scope. They removed a traffic signal and some foundations and an ADA walk. So that is why we're actually crediting money back to the project. The Transportation Department did not use for this.
And did they give a reason why, for example, the handicap access, was it just unnecessary, or what was the reason for
I
that?
believe it was unnecessary at the location once the project got constructed.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Dickey. Thank you, Mr. Dickey. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Number 4. West Trinity Heights Park, District 4. Authorize 1, authorization of a public hearing to be held on December 11, 2024, pursuant to Chapter 26 of the Texas Park and Wildlife Code. And number 2, a public hearing to be held on March 26, 2025, pursuant to Chapter 26 of the Texas Parks and Wildlife Code to receive comments on proposed use of a portion of parkland at West Trinity Heights Park, located at 1900 Harlandale Avenue, totaling approximately 24,200 square feet of land, 0.56 acres by the Dallas Water Utility for a public drainage project. Revenue, capital gift, donations to the development fund, $740.90. Committee considered on January 9th, 2025. You'll have a motion. Mr. Slaughter, second. Ms. Mondell, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Number 5, land acquisition, District 5. Authorize the settlement in lieu of proceedings with condemnation of A Plus Charter School Incorporated of approximately 466,639 square feet of land, 10.7 acres, located at 404 South Masters Drive for a proposed new park, not to exceed $411,000, increase from $574,000, $568,196 plus closing costs and total expenses not to exceed $5,804 to $985,000, $975,000 plus additional closing costs and the total expense not to exceed $10,000. Financing, Park and Recreational Facilities B Fund 2017 bond funds. Committee considered on January 9th, 2025. Do I have a motion? Mr. Gunn. Second, Mr. Slaughter. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? Seeing none, motion carries. Number 6, Cleburne Trail, District 5. Authorize a hike and bike trail easement with DART for the use of a DART property for construction, operation, and maintenance of a portion of the planned Cleburne Trail located at Keepling Drive to Crawford Memorial Park. Financing, no cost consideration to the city. Committee considered on January 9th, 2025. Motion?
Could I like to make a motion to have item number 6, Cleburne Trail revised to reflect the date of January 23rd, 2025, under committee action as being the date item is brought to Park Board, not February 6th, 2025, please.
Second on that motion? Mr. Dickey, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Against? All right, now we're gonna, I need a motion to.
I'll make that.
We have a motion to, adopt number 6 of Mr. Gunn, second by Mr. Slaughter. Any discussion on the motion with the new date? Seeing none, all in favor? Against? Seeing none, motion carries. Number 7, Trinity Trail District 6. Authorize construction service contract for the construction of the Trinity Strand Highline Span Project, a new pedestrian bridge at the end of Highline Drive in the Dallas Design District to connect the New Circuit Trail and the Katy Trail to the Trinity Strand Trail. The Fan Group Incorporated, lowest responsible bidder of 6, not to exceed $8,790,898. Financing, Design District TIF Fund. Committee considered on January 9th, 2025. Do I have a motion? Mr. Dickey. Second. Ms. Hasbany. Any discussion? Yes, Ms. Mondell.
Yeah, no, I just want to bring up, we've discussed this on many times on work order changes. And the FANG group has about 11 work order changes in previous projects. And we just want to make sure that we do our due diligence with staff, with planning and design department, and with our own committee to really watch how this plays out with the taxpayers' money and with the amount of work order changes that have been in the past, that we do our due diligence in scrutinizing more with this company. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dickey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to second what Park Board Member Mondell said about the change orders, particularly because the difference between the winning bid and the second bid was about $80,000 only. And given the history of this bid and change orders, and to keep a close eye on what that is, I understand creating a new policy on change orders and planning and design. And I would hope that that policy, whatever it ends up being, applied to this project as well. And then secondly, the enhancement bids, in the enhancement bids, I believe the second bidder came in several $100,000 lower than the fahim group, but then the actual contract itself, the enhancement bids were not taken into consideration, and therefore that's how the fahim group became the lowest bidder. But in terms of dropping the enhancements, this happened with the skate park as well in Bachman. Could someone on staff let me know who decides when the project is proposed? Because I know, for example, with the skate park, the community thought that the lighting was not going to be an enhancement, but then it turned out to be. So just the process of who decides on staff not to do enhancements. How does that work?
Yeah, and I'll have Chris Turner come up and explain more details, but basically, I know you're referring to enhancement, but we're talking about the alternates.
Alternates, sorry.
Yes.
Yes.
So basically, we have a budget, and so I'm just giving an example. So the budget was $2 million, and so they will put a bid out there, but they know that the pricing may only be able to accommodate these 5 things. But they'll put alternates out there just in case we get some good pricing that we can add into that $2 million budget, because then we got an opportunity, instead of having 5 things, we can get 7 things in this same budget. And that's why we have the alternates out there. But Chris can explain in more details.
Thank you, Director Jenkins. What you said was exactly right. Basically, when we're putting bids out right now, we look at what budget we have, and we look at our opinion of probable construction costs, and balance those 2 things out to have in the base bid the most important items of the project that fit within that opinion of probable construction costs and the budget. And then we do include additional alternates in case the bid does come in lower, and we're able to fit those additional alternates within the budget that we have.
Great explanation. I appreciate that. And I would just, as a board member who's experienced this, I would just encourage staff to, if it involves the community having been notified of a feature that's going to be included, that there be notice, at least to the park board member, not that it applies to this specific project, but that we be notified that a major change, that maybe the community maybe not fully understanding the process thought was going to happen when it wasn't really certain. But thanks for the explanation.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Mr. Slaughter.
Yes, Happy New Year. Waiting to say that.
You've been gone.
Well, I want to get through this so we get into the speakers, but I agree with, I'm on board with it, especially this Monday on this change order, because everyone on this board know that I'm not a fan of the fahim group. They plainly said that in all their participation that they, have some hesitation there. So I'd like to keep the board, abreast on what's happening with these change orders and with this company, because I am not a fan of the fahim.
Thank you, Mr. Slaughter, and we'll go to Mr. McGann.
Yeah, just to be on the same page as everyone here. So is there, and to be clear, there's a history with the fahim group of having a lowest bid and putting a bunch of change orders that increases the cost of the construction? Is that what we're, okay.
Very much so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so there is an established history of that happening, and they've been warned, I suppose, with
We still get them contrary.
contracted that.
You have to talk to Chris.
So that's where they're working through the committee right now to address. It's not just the fahim group. There's several contractors. But what we are gonna bring a briefing back to the board as well as the city council, that this ain't unique to fahim group. What we're starting to see when it comes to pricing now, this is happening all across all the different contractors and consultants. And we need to bring a briefing back to the board and council so you all can see the data that shows you what's been happening over the last 3 years with these contractors. And you all heard me mention this at the last meeting. These prices are out of control. And our base bids are coming over budget. And I don't mind saying it publicly. I just think that contractors, we're going to use the term caboose, but I think they all are talking to each other now when it comes to doing business with governmental agencies, and they are escalating their prices. And we need to send a strong message to these contractors that this is not going to be business as usual. And if you don't give us better pricing, then we will start taking things back in-house and constructing things to get better pricing.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks.
Thank you. Another discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion passes. Thank you. Our last item on the voting agenda, number 8, LD Houston Nature Area, District 6. Authorize a public hearing to be held on March 26, 2025, pursuant to Chapter 26 of the Texas Park and Wildlife Code, to receive comments on the proposed use of a portion of parkland in LB Houston Nature Area located at 2112 and 2116 Sandy Lane, totaling approximately 7,803 square feet of land, 0.18 acres, by Dallas Water Utilities for a public wastewater utility project. Estimated revenue, $755.60, can be considered on January 9, 2025. Have a motion, Mr. Slaughter, second by Mr. Dickey. Any discussion? Yes, sir, Mr. Dickey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't want to be that guy at this meeting that talks about every single item, but this one's in my district, and because I believe it's germane, and Ms. Landers can correct me if I'm going on base here. We've had a recent complaint from an active citizen group that works in that nature area a lot about automatic gunfire and basically guns being out of control in the area, and the fact that DWU is going to have personnel in the area while we're having a potential safety concern. I'd like to bring that to the staff's attention. We'll be discussing this hopefully later in a public safety, ad hoc safety and security meeting today. But I just want to bring this to attention because there's something going on out there, and before they start going out and doing the work, the community group that's worked out there had volunteers. They're now reluctant to send their volunteers there because they don't feel safe. And they've asked us to address the situation. So as it relates to this item, I would hope we can take care of whatever's going on out there before, as soon as possible, because there's some wild stuff happening out in the nature. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dickey. Ms. Mondell.
Can you have somebody describe to me the process, like just the cliff notes on how, when we look at something like this, an environmental aspect that is attributed to something like this wildlife area too, like how we understand a little bit about the lay of the land and what's underneath the topsoil, and just a little bit of that, just so I understand when we're voting on something like this, and then we're talking about what Mr. Dickey's talking about, but also how environmental sound we get our information.
As far as we're talking about item number 8, right? They'll be using.
Yes, sir.
And this is just a public hearing, but are you asking before we
But when
proceed?
before you have a public hearing, I mean, you have to have the information. How do we get like environmental information about this land when we have I'm sure people at a public hearing would ask about that. So do we come with that type of meeting information or no? Do we have any idea of like what's underneath it?
Well, and like I said, Ms. Nowhere, they explain more details, but in this case, this is Dallas Water Utilities easement. And so or is it Chris? Yeah, and so what happens is we acquire parkland, DW already had these utilities, okay? And so they're just granting us the opportunity to be able to utilize it for recreational use. But at the end of the day, it's DW's easement. And so they have a right to be able to get to their sewage lines or pipes to perform whatever repairs or put in new construction to maintain their utilities.
So what you're referring to is what I'm thinking about if we're going to potentially access this area for recreational use, how do we know what's under that ground? How do you bridge the environmental department with what we're doing?
We have urban biologists ourselves, and we
Okay.
do send our urban
So that's
biologists
just
to
asking the
do.
process. Of
Yes,
how
that's what we do.
Okay.
That's the fortune. We're the only department that actually have an urban biologist on staff. We have two now.
Okay, great.
And the other departments utilize our urban biologists a lot as well now to do those type of assessments. What's the impact to the ecosystem?
Thank you. And to the people too.
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, I guess that is the ecosystem, but I'm just trying to
Yes,
figure
the
out.
people included in
Yes, but I'm just trying to figure out how we understand, what that process is and how we get that information.
And then in other cases, if it's construction, they also hire a consultant that's part of their due diligence to have someone on staff that can do that type of due diligence as well.
Okay.
And if I may add, when we are actually acquiring property, we do a phase 1 environmental site assessment to ensure that there's nothing underground that's contaminated or things like that. And if they do find something, they then do a phase 2 environmental site assessment. That's what that's being remediation.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Ms. Hasmany.
Sleepy.
Ms. Hasmany?
Yes.
Oh, go ahead. Please go ahead. It's not, come on.
Just want a little clarification here. This is in a way that it sounds like they're using a portion of our parkland. Am I incorrect in that? Are they gifting us land, or are we allowing access to our wastewater repair?
Park Board Member Hasmany, we are allowing them an easement on our property to upgrade their facilities.
So they're not giving us land. This is like many, many times where their stormwater are going to our parkland, and so we're allowing them access to do whatever they need to do.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. So to sort of Ms. Mondell's point, I know in past projects, we have to be diligent at the end of the project to make sure that our parkland looks the same way it did before they showed up to do the work. So I just want to encourage staff that we are very diligent about the back end of that to make sure that when they are finished with their project, that our area looks as good, if not better than it did when they showed up.
I will say this for a fact, when it comes to DWU, they have been a great partner. Whenever they need access to our property and to get to their utilities, but they always come back willing to do more to improve our property.
I have had that experience in my district, so I'm hoping that will be the same in your district.
Yes.
Because I know this is a very sensitive area over there that's kind of gotten beat up a lot in the past. I just want to make sure we're taking extra special good care of it. So thank you for that clarification.
Thank you. Seeing no other further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All against? Motion carries. All right. That was our voting agenda. Now we get back to number 3, public speakers. Madam Secretary?
We have 8 speakers. Speaker will be given 3 minutes to speak. Please direct your comments to the chair only. Each speaker who makes personal, impertinent, profane, or slanderous remarks or becomes boisterous while addressing the park board will be removed immediately and barred from the meeting. First speaker is going to be Ms. Diane Ragsdale.
My name is Diane Ragsdale, and I'm here to advocate for renaming College Park to Fahim minkah community. In honor of a remarkable individual whose contributions to social justice and human rights cannot be overstated. Fahim minkah dedicated his life to addressing the issues that matter most to disenfranchised communities. He believed fervently that all individuals, regardless of their background, deserve the right to live with dignity and can have access to a comfortable, decent standard of living. His efforts with organizations such as the Brown Berets, representing the Latino community, and Balogun Patriots, representing the white community, embodied a determination to fight for the rights of the oppressed. Together, they championed social justice in the face of adversity. In 1984, when I was a member of the Dallas City Council, at a time when the crack cocaine epidemic was destroying families and communities, fahim, minkah, an organizer of the African American Men Against Narcotics, coordinated marches, rallies, and nightly patrols in areas plagued by drug houses, sending a clear and powerful message to drug dealers: your behavior would not be tolerated. Fahim's leadership was dangerous work that required courage, yet he did not back down. Included in his activism, fahim minkah became a mentor and beacon of hope for countless young people in our community. Recognizing the need for positive spaces, fahim established the Southern Skates Roller Rink, a popular destination where youth could enjoy wholesome fun in a supportive and safe environment. Southern Skates also served as a community-based crime prevention program that helped to reduce violence by teaching life skills and conflict resolution. In the late 1960s and 1970s, as a leader of the Black Panther Party in Dallas, he helped address the urgent need for nutritious meals for children. His efforts contributed to the Black Panther Party national initiative that provided tens of thousands of children with breakfast they needed to thrive in school. The tireless advocacy of the Black Panther Party eventually helped to pressure the United States Congress to expand the National School Breakfast Program in 1975, an achievement that continues to benefit hundreds of thousands of children across the nation right today. Renaming College Park to fahim minkah Community Park would be a fitting tribute to a man who gave so much of himself to create a more just, equitable, and compassionate society for us all. Thank you so very much.
Here,
Yes, sir, Mr. King.
I would, as a motion of personal privilege, I would just like to thank former council member Ragsdale for her service to the city as a city council member, and in the years since deserves recognition publicly, and that's the thing I would like to do. So
Thank you very much.
thank you for
Thank you, Mr. King.
Anybody else?
Ms. Mondale?
And when the speakers are speaking, if you see the green light off, will you just wait for the technicals to come back on, please? Because we lost a little bit of the audio feed. So when you're speaking, just if you see that, just let them come back on, please. We'd love to hear everything that you guys have to say.
Our next speaker is Yafeuh.
Good morning. My name is Yafeuh Shamsuddin, and I'm a briefing chair for the Highland Hills community. I'm also a property owner in the community as well, 3071. I strongly support renaming College Park to Fahim J. Minkah Community Park because of what it means. It's talking about a man who transformed his life and rehabilitated himself. He became a dedicated family man to the extent we have his children here today. Those 50 years of life that he became, afterwards that he became a family man, he created an organization called African American Men Against Narcotics that patrolled the community and deterred youth violence and issues in the community, in District 8, right down the street from College Park. A very powerful movement to the extent that he was able to do some things that the Dallas Police Department wasn't able to do, primarily because it was the relationship that he built with the community. Very powerful thing. And I want to say is that he also served in the Air Force. Of course, he transitioned, if you will, in 2018. And he's buried at DFW National Cemetery, where other prominent leaders rest. And so my position is, if this country can honor him as a servant, then surely this park board, because he's resting in DFW National Cemetery. In addition to his work for reform, he became a successful businessman, not only supporting his family, but also providing jobs for others, empowering them to become financially independent. Over the course of 50 years, he evolved into a respected community leader and a vital asset for the city. Renaming the park after him symbolizes the power of transformation, redemption, and dedication to becoming an asset to the community, values that we wholeheartedly support and believe in. Thank you.
Your next speaker, Davante Peters.
Greetings. My name is Davante Peters. Not only am I a community person, I also own a health store called the Alkaline Hour, not too far from this park. I'm also somebody who's grown up in this neighborhood, and just to see how, you know, we have limited resources, we have limited things in the community that reflects us and the people that we look up to. So just y'all making a decision to unanimously vote on this park board, this park name change, will make me feel like my voice is heard, you know, in a place where we don't really feel heard in our communities. I'm somebody who is inspired by fahim, minkah's community service, his business acumen. So, you know, that definitely inspires me to do community work as well, and to be able to tell other youth or other people in the community about who this person was, what he did, and yeah, so I just want y'all to be a part of that. You know, we're in a time where, you know, there's a lot of confusion going on, but I think, you know, these small battles like this definitely shed a lot of light in the community that definitely needs it, such as Highland Hill. So consider, you know, everybody voting on this. Appreciate it.
Next speaker, Akintunde Funso.
How old people sound when they stand up. My name is Akintunde Funso. I'm an original surviving member of the Dallas Black Panther Party. Myself and me started working together to build the Black Panther Party in 1973. The reason I'm here today is because fahim actually saved my life. After I left the Black Panther Party, I took a real downward spiral. And he put me into a treatment center, and God stayed the same. And February the 17th, I was been clean 35 years. But the thing I'm looking at is that the neighborhood we're talking about, I grew up in that neighborhood. I moved to Dallas from Waxahachie when I was a year old. I grew up in that neighborhood, and during Jim Crow, we had to live in shotgun houses. But in 1964, my parents and other members of the Black community had an opportunity to move into some houses with running water and bathrooms and different stuff like that. Now, we were real proud of that. And when Ronald Reagan and Ollie North started this whole flow of cocaine into our communities, the whole community changed. Children who used to go to vineyards with their parents were now selling drugs so that they take care of their children because their mothers and fathers were out using drugs. And fahim started the African American Million Against Narcotics. It was like a breath of life. He patrolled the village apartments. There was a crew called the Shower Posse. They were a very brutal crew. As a matter of fact, They set a friend of mine's sister on fire while she was alive until she burned to death because she stole a dime rock from them. And Fahim and the African American men against narcotics patrol those areas, and they ran those people out of our community. There's still residue of that in our community, but the fact of the matter is, we in this country we have heroes like Patrick Henry, who said, "Give me liberty to give me death." We want honor our heroes. Minkah is a hero. Took a lot of courage to go against them guys. They had shotguns and pistols, and the shower posse had Uzi, but they went and patrolled those areas anyway, and they ran those people out of our community. And our community has an opportunity again to thrive as a middle class community of cocaine invaded. I call the cocaine a neutron bomb. If you guys remember, they were talking a few years ago about a neutron bomb that would kill the people and leave the buildings, and that's what crack is, and Fahim Minkah fought against that. God bless you. Oh! That's all people sound when they sit down.
Minkah, guys speak last minutes, I didn't know anything. But like I said, I'm Kenneth Minkah. I'm the son of Minkah. I know we took different paths and different routes, but I'm also a Dallas police officer. We had the same kind of goal of protecting the neighborhood. We're also living in the neighborhood. You hear most people speaking about what he did for the community in the skate ring, but I want to speak about something maybe go unnoticed and not talked about a lot. He was also a track coach. He coached since I was the age of 5, so he coached for decades. For me, that was another avenue opportunity they had for kids. That's how I got through college. That's how a lot of kids that he coached got through college. He coached multiple middle schools, multiple high schools, summer track, and it was all on his own dime. He didn't do it for any type of monetary gains. It was all volunteer. Whether you ran for him or you didn't run for him, he still opened his arms without you to coach. Now, to coach you, when it came to fundraising, we all went out and did fundraising. None of the parents had to pay for anything. If there's anything left over, he paid for it out of his own pocket. So that was just one thing I want to speak of. These same fields, the same parks. You guys look up, some of you guys may have seen it, but there's videos on YouTube of us running City of Dallas parks, training, practicing. So I just want to see a way, for us to honor him, and I'm just here to see it through.
Marvin Crenshaw.
Marvin Crenshaw. But in 1973 is when I met Fahim then. When he started the Black Panther Party chapter here in the city of Dallas, and I was his assistant. And I always was very amazed at the knowledge that he had doing different things. That was in the time computers and things. And Mr. Minkah used to make all of his flyers and things on his extended printer. And he was very excellent at doing those things and organizing. We had our differences, just like I've had differences with people on the Dallas City Council. We all sat down and we got through that. But and all of us on this board here in life have gone over what my grandmother used to call Fool's Hill. Mm-hmm. People go to Fool's Hill a different way. And it all depends on what you learn going over Fool's Hill, if you transform yourself or if you take it your way. Like I've done it in different areas. All of us have. But I asked a question to someone on yesterday. I said, what are they trying to judge Fahim on? And they were talking about something about a bank robbery. I don't know anything about that. There are different people in life who I have seen mayors in the city of Dallas who also have committed different things, but they still were awarded as one of the better citizens in the city of Dallas. And fahim minkah was that.
That's right.
He was that on this board at the skating rink. He always used to stop me whenever we had a time when we talked. He said, "Comrade, I'm doing this for you. I want you to be the chair of at the skating rink." He said it's going to pay you $150,000, and you deserve that. And I always would tell him that I'm involved in something. But hopefully that you hopefully that you will not judge him on things that he did as he was going over what we might call Fool's Hill until the time that when he left here. But again, all of us in some way and in some manner have gone over Fool's Hill. And I also asked the judge and Mr. Minkah about some things that you might judge him on. But when I look across the city, when I look over at the Forest Theater, when I look at the Forest Theater, I see something different. In 1983, when Nelson Higgins was appointed to the Dallas City Council, and we were doing the Martin Luther King Street thing change, and Martin Luther King was known as Forest at that time.
That's your time, sir. That's your time.
I'd like to move to allow Mr. Crenshaw an extra minute.
When we were doing that, there was a council member in 1980 that named Max Goldblatt. And he called me to the side one day and he said, "Young man, you always go to that library. I want you to look up some things." And he asked me to look up the life of Nathan Bedford Forrest and the Keys. And he said, when I was a young boy, I was reading about all of them. Nathan Bedford Forrest, if you read his life, he was the founder of the Klan when he was in the military. When he was in the army, he was responsible for the murder of 154 African Americans. And you find African Americans who were supporting rebuilding Forest Avenue. So I'm saying you cannot just judge someone over one part of their life. You have to look at their life in totality. It's like with yourself, if you were in high school as a woman and you might have got pregnant in high school. But nobody can judge you on that. You judge the person on what happens afterwards. So I hope you do the same thing with Mr. Minkah and do the same thing with the city of Dallas.
John Fullenwider.
There are many reasons to name College Park in honor of fahim minkah. You'll be honoring a visionary community leader. Fahim proposed the first citizen review of police misconduct in Dallas in 1975, with his idea to have the Civil Service Board review citizen complaints. This move was blocked by the city attorney and the city council at the time, but today, half a century later, we have an official community police oversight board with visionary leadership. Fahim led the Panther Party in Dallas from 1973 to 1978. The Panthers were a controversial group, but their positive legacy remains today. As Ms. Ragsdale noted, the nation's school breakfast program was preceded by and originated in the Panthers' Breakfast for Children program. Their pioneering advocacy for raising awareness of sickle cell disease was instrumental in generating greater access and better treatment for patients. You'll be honoring Minkah's innovative approach to fighting drug crime through African American men against narcotics. One can't help but wonder what the results would have been if a man had been given a tiny fraction of the resources wasted in the official war on drugs. Today, his approaches that are community-based and treatment-centered have much more support. Fahim Minkah lived and worked in the community surrounding Panther Party. His auto repair shop was in the area, also Southern's Gates, which he founded in 1999. Fine. When we honor this good and fearless man, Fahim Minkah, we'll be honoring a view of civic life in Dallas that goes beyond the leadership of the top businesses, the wealthy foundations, and City Hall, a view that includes street-level leaders who were often ahead of their time as they struggle against injustice. Thank you.
Vincent Willis.
My first time speaking in type. That's my first fair. My name is Vincent Willis. People in my community also know me as Cyrus. I've lived in Dallas, Texas my entire life. Proud to call this city my home. I'm also a writer, artist, musician, athlete, just enthusiast. Growing up, I remember spending time at the park climbing monkey bars, flipping on pull-up bars. Parks back then weren't just about trails, soccer fields, or tennis courts. They were places where we could build strength and train our bodies in a fun and functional way. Over the years, I visited many parks across Dallas, only to realize that they are missing something important. Outside of White Rock Lake and Tess Park, there are almost no pull-up bars or calisthenics equipment in our public parks. If you look at the cities like Los Angeles, New York, or Tampa, they embrace the idea of the dedicated calisthenics areas. These spaces have monkey bars, pull-up bars of various heights, dip bars for kids and adults, and even stations for sit-ups or bodyweight exercises like rows. These features encourage people of all ages to build strength and stay healthy. I wasn't always in shape. As a teenager, I was overweight and inactive. It wasn't until I started walking at the age of 19 that my journey began. That turned into running, and then in my 30s, I added strength training to my routine. Now in my 40s, I see how crucial strength training is, not just for looking good, but for staying healthy and coordinated and resilient. Our parks are amazing for promoting cardiovascular health, but they're missing an essential piece, strength training. As we age, we face a natural decline in muscle mass, strength, and function through a process called sarcopenia. This starts in our 30s, and after 40, we lose 1 to 2% muscle mass every year. While aging is inevitable, much of this decline is preventable. Strength training can slow and even reverse these effects. It's not just about looking fit, it's about preventing injuries, improving coordination, and maintaining independence as we age. Beyond physical health, exercise plays a huge role in our mental well-being. A lot of people in Dallas and other places throughout our country struggle with self-esteem, anxiety, and depression. Research and personal studies show that regular physical activity improves mental health, and it builds our confidence and can lead to a more fulfilling life. A healthy body lays the foundation for everything that we do, whether it's pursuing our goals or simply enjoying life to the fullest. Today, I stand before you with a proposal. Let's bring updated fitness parks to Dallas. Let's give our community. I have 10 more statements. Let's give our community access to spaces that promote strength, health, and well-being for all ages. I would personally love to work with architects and city planners to design a prototype or smaller versions spread out throughout the city. Together, we can make a lasting impact on the health and happiness of our community for the young and elderly. Thank you.
Thank you to our speakers for being here today. Now we'll move to agenda item number 9, College Park renaming. Renee, Jonathan?
Well, let me just explain the process today. This was a 5-person memo. brought forward by our board member Slaughter. So this process on 5-person memo is where the board member who brings it forward, and this is a discussion item today, it's not a voting item. It allows the park board member who brought it forward to have that discussion with the board to get your feedback and input today. And then based on your feedback and input today, then the staff will proceed based on whatever the direction is given by the will of the board today. Staff has provided your packet, just like we do with any other naming request, just giving you the information that you could Google yourself, or we just give you information in your packet that we would do for any other naming request. But our role today is just to, staff is just to hear the guidance and direction from the board.
Yes, sir, Mr. Slaughter.
Happy New Year. Thank God for her. I'm so happy to be here, and I'm so happy to see each and every one of you. I'm excited about this. First of all, I'd like to give some credit to some people, especially this staff. I don't know if she's here or not. Is Ms. Shana Hamilton here? Yeah. Where's she? Come up here so everybody can see you. Come up here. I just want everybody to see you. I like to, let's give her a hand for what she did. For our leadership and what our staff, even though there was some pushback, she never pushed back. She met with this family. She organized the groups. She organized the meetings. And not one time did she ever say, this is not going to happen. I don't want to be here with these people. I bless you. Bless you. I want everybody to know, and we don't give staff enough credit like we need to do. So thank you, Ms. Hamilton. Thank you. Mr. Shadeen, he's a precinct chair. Thank you. We're looking here and you look at different situations and we hear about people doing things. I grew up in Highland people, and I know none of this is nonfiction, what this man did. He was one of the reasons why when I grew up over there, I was afraid to do crack or drugs because I thought he would beat my butt. It's amazing. I was appointed on this board by a city councilman, and he's heard all this back and forth. And not one time has he said, I don't support this. This is from City Councilman Atkins. I'm so blessed when I had my fellow board members, Dickie, Karimi, Jeff Kidner, who's going to be a great councilman, Blair, sign this thing with me to get it on the discussion. Doing what's right is not popular all the time. We want on this board to be good stewards, to do the right thing. And when the community wants this, we should be aware and take heed to that. This should happen. It's been a place card, College Park for over 50 years. If this family had $27 million, we wouldn't be sitting here. We wouldn't be sitting here. I don't think we just name parks because people have millions of dollars. We need to start naming some parks because people have done something for the city and for their community. That's what we need to do. So I'm elated. I'm so excited. I mean, just coming here and seeing this today is like a kid going to school for the first day. You want to keep seeing your friends so I can share your lunch with you. Maybe you got tuna fish today. We were so close. We always had alone, but I didn't mind sharing. This is something that makes you excited when we do something is besides signing off on a contract, giving somebody that because they got millions of dollars, they will name the park after them. We don't know if they've done anything. But when we see that money, everything else, that precedes everything else. So I'm excited about this. I'm excited that we're at this point. And I'd like for you to stand with me. Stand with me. If you don't do anything else for me, stand with me on this. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, thank you, sir. Next, Mr. Dickey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think the community gave us really good background on why fahim minkah deserves this kind of recognition. So that's pretty clear. I would like to address what I think one could perceive as negatives that were in our background in terms of his earlier conviction as a part of a bank robbery as a young man, and then also this default on a loan with Southern States. For the conviction, I think it's clear that people turn their lives around, and this gentleman became a mentor for youth in his neighborhood, and everything he did was to help the youth, and it was a troubled area, and he stepped up along with his colleagues and addressed it directly, made a big difference in a lot of people's lives there, and also as coach. So I think that completely wipes out, in my opinion, any negatives about the mistakes he made as a young man. And as for the default, I believe that strongly that he had really good intentions, that the Southern States Project was because he felt that the community kids needed something like that. And as often happens in Dallas, things change, things go wrong. Couldn't make it. The project went bankrupt to the degree that he was at fault. Who knows? It was a long time ago. But I would lean toward forgiveness because guess what? We still have Southern States. He founded it. It went through trouble. That's a legacy that remains. And in terms of having cost the taxpayers money, let's say, anyone who's around here in the 80s knows what happened with our banks. The banks in Dallas defaulted, costing billions of dollars to the taxpayers nationally to bail them out in the S&L crisis. Yet many of those gentlemen who ran those banks continued on in Dallas as revered citizens, highly praised. And yet what they cost the taxpayers is way more than anything fahim minkah's problems may have caused. Also, in the public sector, private sector rather, we had an executive of the biggest energy company in Dallas who bankrupted that company pretty much in 2002. There were newspaper articles about it. It cost $4 billion loss to the company. Shareholders lost money. And yet that gentleman was revered ongoing in the city and was even put on a committee to choose the next city manager after having had this catastrophic thing happen to the company he ran. So let's keep in mind some perspective here if we're talking about the default on a loan, what happened back then. And I just hope that the board will honor the community, who obviously there are people who grew up in this neighborhood who are behind this, and support this. And I'd like to find out at the close of this if the board's will is to go forward to get from staff a schedule for when we can get it on the agenda for voting on it. Thank you.
I just want to thank everybody who came and spoke, especially the ones who hadn't spoke before. It's beautiful to come and speak to us, so thank you very, very much. Question, and I'm not quite sure who can answer this, but everything that you guys discussed, this man seems to make a really big impact and a difference in your lives. Is there anything else out there besides this initiative of naming a park after him that commemorates all of his wonderful attributes that has made a difference in your lives and your parents' lives, and hopefully you would pass on to your children? Any? Is there any programs or is there a community name event that is in his name that is out there that you guys give back, community service, anything like that that's out there that highlights? Because it would be
the only ongoing thing now is the track club.
Ma'am, if you can come to the mic, please. One second. Yes, sir.
So let me ask this. We should clarify. This has been presented as a board discussion item, but I'd like to ask maybe the city attorney if within the discussion, if the board members feel that they wanted to ask the community members for resources, is that appropriate or do we have to limit it? I have a personal opinion, but I think that there's a protocol question.
I think it is appropriate, and the chair can also run the meeting as it deems fit. And I think it's fine.
I think that the question Ms. Mondale proposed, either Mr. Slaughter or maybe somebody from the community could answer that for her, because she's asking a question about what else is out there that are recognizing him besides this particular park. So if Mr. Slaughter wants to take the lead on it, that's fine. Just answer Ms. Mondale's question.
And to my question is that this man's story has a legacy, and you want to continue having his story out there for the future, for your kids out there. And so how does somebody like this, is there anything else out there besides your initiative to trying to name a park after him, show his legacy? And
Track club is still ongoing.
but it's a track club, but how do, what we got at the background sounds wonderful, and he's made a difference in your life and then this gentleman's life. How does that story continue to get out there? If a park's get names or not after this person, how does somebody who made such an impact, and with all his initiatives, help make a difference for the future of the community and for and all of?
Well, not only you, Paul, I think, like you said, and thank you for that, because you're the Hollywood person. I think it has to be told. It has to be told. Whether it's newsprint or some type of documentation, I commend you on that. Like I said, the only thing that's ongoing now is the legacy is a track thing. Of course, skate facility there. Everybody knows about it, from generation to generation. I think so. If we moved this to the agenda, we voted on. I think the park and the neighborhood and the kids, we should do something so that this can be carried on.
It's the legacy. Is there somebody's in the arts out there? Is there any arts initiative, like doing a art project that lives in a park, that tells the story forever, as opposed to a name of a park that just gets thrown out there? But how do you know this man's legacy and all the difference that he made? And that's what I'm trying to see. If this,
That's why we got you.
that's what you have then.
Thank you.
So Mike's already going to be recognized. I'll recognize you. Yes.
Thank you so much for the question. I think one of the things that we have to recognize is Dallas Public Library has taken the time out to honor Mr. Minkah, some of his information as far as how he was acting in the community. That's something right now, at least it relates to the Dallas Public Library, that's ongoing. Because you can go to the 7th floor, talk to the receptionist there and say, where's the fahim minkah papers? You can ask her, where's the fahim minkah archives? And I think the interesting thing is that if you research there, you see some very interesting documents, some historical documents. And also, it's just great that the city of Dallas has taken its time out to honor him in that way. So it's good, and we actually have so he has it in his hand as kind of archive information. So the city of Dallas has done that.
Thank you.
Yes.
Oh, wait a minute. No. There's no other. Did I ask you a question?
Yeah, thank you.
No, sorry, sir. All right, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Springhill. Now we'll go to Mr. Carini.
Good morning. Good morning. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Thank you, Board Member Slaughter, for bringing this to us today. I'm always happy to support you, sir. I want to thank the public speakers this morning for passionately speaking on this item. I often tell friends and neighbors that some of my favorite parts of these meetings are the public speakers, and you certainly delivered this morning, so thank you. We heard a lot of details this morning. I want to speak from a broader perspective on why this board should take this to the next step and support this name change. Number one, obviously honoring a local civil rights leader. The stories this morning speak for themselves. Number two, being inclusive. I think now more than ever, we need to seize opportunities to choose inclusivity rather than the opposite. Number three, educating and inspiring future generations. I say this all the time. I hope my kids grow up to be just as involved as some of us are in our communities. And lastly, aligning Dallas with racial reconciliations from some of our unsavory history. What I mean by that is here within the park department, in my council district 14, I hope we never forget that for 80 years we had a park named Robert E. Lee Park. And I have to bite my lip not to throw an F word in there when I say that name. But for 80 years, everyone, 80 years was through the middle of the century. It was through the civil rights movement. It was into the new millennium that we were honoring what? A traitor? A loser? Someone who is marginalized? Had a freaking monument in that park. Personal story while I'm on this topic, and I probably have another minute or two. Our oldest child recently started pre-K at a public school here in East Dallas called Geneva Heights Elementary. And you may or may not know what it used to be called just a few years ago. It was called Robert E. Lee Elementary. And I would be damned if I ever sent my kid to a school named that. So while I don't truly get it because of the color of my skin, I still get it. And I want everyone to know that. I know that today is just a discussion, and I certainly encourage our senior staff to take this to the next step and come back for a vote with us. I will stand with the community then, just like I do now. I will stand with Mr. Slaughter. I am in 110% for this. Thank you, everyone.
Ms. Hammond?
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to voice my support for you, Mr. Slaughter, publicly. I agree with Rudy that, especially in the climate that we live in now, to judge someone by their past and not by the work and body of their work would be a disservice as a board that is here to serve the public and the community. And I feel like today the community has expressed what they want. And as their representatives here, it is our job to then execute on the expressions of the community in which it serves. So being from South Oak Cliff myself in this area, I fully support you, Mr. Slaughter, and your community in this going forward. Thank you.
Seeing no other hands up or buttons pushed. Oh, you do? Okay. All right, I think I missed again. Go ahead.
Button has been pushed. It's going off of my fellow member Creedy's point about Robert Lee Park. I actually began my term as the chair of the Public Art Committee right at that time and oversaw the removal of that, as well as the installation of a number of memorials around the city commemorating some of the truly heinous things that have happened here. And Martyrs Park, the creation of that as well, and the piece of art that is being very important to me. We actually went through the entire public art collection at the time and looked at potential issues of conflict and statues of people related to that. And I can tell you from that process that I don't see a problem here when it comes to issues of the past. I think the story of redemption is incredibly important. It in and of itself, alongside all of the incredible things that were done by this individual, gives a beacon of light to people that you can turn your life around and reach the utmost heights of community. It's I'm not going to live in a glass house and throw stones. This person, and I also just want to point out, if a convicted felon can be president of the United States, who stormed the Capitol and have done nothing good since then, then we certainly can name a park after a man who had 50 years of impact on his community in a way that has been evidenced here today. All of that said, I would love to know, or just as a personal procedural curiosity, why a 5% memo was needed in this particular regard, as opposed to just the item.
I can explain the process to you. The process is it can get on the agenda several ways. It can go through a 5-person memo. It can go from a board member making a request directly to the chair committee. It can go, a board member can make a direct request to the chair of the park board. So there's several avenues to move an item like this forward.
Right, and my impression of the 5-person memo is sort of a forced play by the board because those other avenues were not receptive. So was there a request made that was denied? Is there a reason why the 5-person memo?
That's it. To Slaughter.
Hey, stepchild, Happy New Year. Well, during the history, and I knew that there might be some pushback, but I know the 5-person memo was going to make it be done. That's why I did it. I didn't want to go through, there's a process, there's a procedure, this is out there, we don't think it'd be appropriate to put it on the agenda. And so I took the steps and the processes that I wanted to take to make sure that we would be here. And that's why I was doing it. There was no, there's nothing about the department or anything like that. Really, I wanted to get it on the agenda. That's what I did, the 5-person memo, which I knew was going to get it done. Because asking, going to work with the president of the department, and there would have been some pushback, and we would have never gotten to where we are now. So that's what I did, the 5-person memo.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Dickey.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I'd just like to make a comment on the 5-person memo concept. There's nothing negative about doing a 5-person memo. I know it can be thought of that way sometimes. It's no hostility or anything aggressive. It's that sometimes as opposed to just going to the president or the director to get it on the agenda, which is easy to do. Very few times I've never had anything denied. But sometimes with a 5-person memo also, you're within the memo and the explanation, you get out there out front what the reasons are so that when it comes to the board, it's very clear, and also the amount of support for it. So it kind of gives you, if you want to get an item on the agenda, it gives you an opportunity to kind of like sell your concept more than just making a request and then having it come up in the meeting. I think one thing I'd like to, just as with an open records request, sometimes it's better to have an open records request than to go through staff because you've got a 10-day deadline on that, let's say. So these are, and Mr. Slaughter mentioned something about getting this on quickly. So I'd just like to put to rest the negative perceptions of a 5-person memo. It can be very useful for other reasons and not necessarily anything conflicting about it. Thank you.
Now you see why he was my college roommate.
Thank you, Mr. Dickey. We'll go to McCaskey first. First time, please.
I'm just kind of circling back to what you just said. Have we followed the normal process for this park naming? I mean, I know there is a procedure. Have we followed it, and where are we in that normal process?
I mean, Renee can just explain the process, but yes, we have followed the process.
With the signatures?
Yes.
And so?
Nothing provided in the package.
Okay. Just remind me where we are in that process. Like, have we done everything we need to, and now it just needs to go to vote?
Well, that's where I'm hoping to get guidance from the board today. What is the next step? We have all the information in your packet today.
Okay.
The will of the board today. You move this now through the normal process where it goes to the committee because all the other groundwork has been done. And then come to the full board, or did you want to bypass the committee and bring this item back as a voting item straight to the full board?
So Brady makes a good point. It's like, well, if this was was already in the works, why did we need a 5-person memo to move it forward? And I think what I'm understanding is it would just expedite it a little bit and kind of push things forward a little quickly. So if that's the case, as far as I'm concerned, if we've gone through all of the appropriate procedures and we've done things the way we do with every other park naming, and we have the community support, we've done all of that, then it's just a matter of bringing it forth for a vote. So I feel like my questions have been answered. 5-person memo kind of helped expedite it. Well, that's fine. I also would like to say, I think In most cases, I will say with our staff and our wonderful leadership, typically if you have something that's important to you, it's always been my experience, you can ask the staff to help you with that, and they will do whatever they can in their power to help you with whatever your project is, without a 5% off.
So Ms. Johnson, is Ms. Hasman correct? We are in the process where we can move it to voting or keep it in committee vote and then come to us?
Just to clarify again, they have did everything you would normally do in a normal process.
Basically, we can come straight to the park board if we choose to, or it can go through committee and then come up.
That's correct.
That's where we're at.
Thank you.
So what's the next process? Can I make a
We
motion?
still got one more park board member. All right, the chair recognizes Ms. Mondo.
Yeah, thank you. Maria's still in the queue. Okay. Per our Park and Recreation Board policy, does this mean that we have to change our policy? Because on, oh goodness, somewhere in the policy, it says I think it's page 6 of 15, renaming for cause, the board may rename a park, trail, a portion thereof, recreation center, or component, regardless of the time since its previous naming, that carries the name of an individual or corporation which has become linked to criminal activity, bad behavior, or otherwise become offensive to prevailing community standards to a degree that justifies, in the judgment of the board, such renaming. No consideration will be given to rename a park, trail, or portion thereof, recreation center, or component renamed for cause to the previously held name. So that's in our policy. Would we, and I'm still confused with some of the background, so would we need to then change our policy, or would we then need to have to do anything legal for this?
I'm gonna defer to the city attorneys.
And then as we go into this, and then my next question to that is that if we cannot serve on a on a board or commission in the city if we owe money to the city. So is that also negate anything that has been put in some of this background?
Yeah, once again, I have to defer to the city attorneys. On your first question, as it relates to far as changing anything that's in the current park naming, I'm pretty sure the city attorneys are gonna say that the park naming is a guide for the board, but the board can always suspend any rules as relates to the park naming policy.
Hello, Christine Landers, City Attorney's Office. And yes, I have a copy of the park naming policy. And if you read the totality of the park naming policy, it is a guidance. And there's a sentence in there that says the park board shall use its collective judgment guided by this policy to determine what's the best interest of the city. So that is correct. That section that Ms. Mondale pointed to, that is a section of the policy, but ultimately the park board decides as a determines the naming or renaming of a particular park. And in this case, College Park was a placeholder name, if I believe that's correct. So you guys are voting to change it from a placeholder to an official name, and using the naming policy as your guide. And it does say, and if an official naming or renaming is deemed justified and appropriate, this policy will guide the park board. So again, ultimately, the park board needs to make the finding or determine what's in the best interest of the city using this collective judgment. Thank you.
She had another question.
The other is that we cannot serve on a park board. I mean, we cannot serve on a board or commission if we owe money to the city. And per the background, it seemed that was also questionable with the default of the loan from Southern Skates. So I just wanted to see if that was, since we are a judiciary administrative board, I just wanted to see if that has anything to do if we vote, if there's a vote that comes to this as well.
Sure. Default on a loan is not mentioned in part of the policy, but again, every park board member has discretion to use their collective judgment in the ultimate vote when this item comes to the park boards. As a
No, thank you.
Okay.
Next, Chair recognizes Mr. Goldstein.
I also want to thank all the community members that I know have been fighting for this for many, many years. It's really impressive to see that kind of advocacy. So I appreciate that. But I did just want to clarify to what some of my colleagues I think are getting at. Did staff at some point in this process inform these folks that the naming request was denied at a staff level? And is that part of why we're where we are today?
And like I said, I have Ms. Shayna and Renee could give more details. But yeah, they did go through the process, and they're, according to the park board policy, they adhere to the park board policy, which if it doesn't meet the standards of the park board policy, then yes, staff can't bring it forward at that point. And that's why Mr. Slaughter utilized his options through the 5-person memo.
Okay, I don't understand why we're like dancing around that issue, because I think that's in the public domain. There's a couple park board members, including myself, who weren't here for that point in the process. And it's just, I'm not saying that's a reason why we vote no, but it's an important context that staff informed these folks at some point in this process in the last few years that this couldn't happen. And that's why we ended up using this mechanism to get it before the board. Is that right?
I think that's a good summary.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Goldstein. And the chair recognizes Mr. Wood.
Thank you. I have had several community members talk to me individually and ask for my support, which I do support this wholeheartedly. When I found out that he owed the city money, I thought the same thing. Well, we can't serve on a board owing money, but the gentleman can't pay it back today. I mean, he's not able to, but he paid it forward with all of the service that he gave over the years. And sometimes, you know, if we look at Southern Skates today, I think we're operating in the red too. So it was a losing battle back when he was trying to make a difference. So I don't like losing money. I don't think anybody likes to lose money. I think we've already heard that he used a lot of his personal money to fund a lot of things. I personally have done the same in a lot of personal things that I like to support that aren't really mine to support, but yet I still choose to support things. So that says a lot about somebody when they want to give themselves, especially when he didn't have to. But he raised a Dallas police officer. That was interesting. I heard a few people say, wow, I didn't know his son was a police officer. I think that's awesome. You know, I think that shined light on, you know, that, you know, he instilled values and, you know, tried to make a difference for his children. So I think that's awesome. So I think after hearing the speakers and the community members that have given me information, I wholeheartedly support this. I think that, you know, the 5-person memo, I think this is an extra step in that process that we had discussed during the naming. That 5-person memo would come as a discussion item, and then it would be discussed to move it forward or not. So we're not really going around the system. That's what we discussed during the process of the naming rights. So I wholeheartedly support it, and think that I look forward to, you know, unveiling the sign hopefully real soon.
Mr. Green, again, sorry.
All right, yeah, I just wanted to address the concept quickly. It's not about whether or not it's making or losing money. This is investing in people, especially in a parts of town. This historically has been very, so I don't look at it similar to the conversation we're having in administrative and finance today about our aquatic centers. These aren't built to make money. They're built to better the community, right? And so that the loss of those funds, quote unquote, we are reaping incredibly more so in the investment that having a safe place to build community is providing for our city. So I just don't see that as a loss.
Thank you, sir. And we'll make it go to the last point on this item, Mr. Slaughter.
I'm gonna say it. Thank God I can say it. I'd like to make 2 points. The first point is, look at me now. I've owned nightclubs, I've had every car, I've lived in every house. Before then, I defaulted on a loan. I lost my car, I lost my apartment, had to move back home for 6 months. But look at me now. So what you do after the fact? And I'm so proud to have known this man, and that's why I'm here. We can sit here and talk all day, spend a prodigious amount of time going back and forth. I think now we need to move on and move this to a voting on our next board meeting. And whatever the process is, and I see that there's support here, and it might not be a little support, but let's get this done. And Mr. Chairman, what is our next? Do I have to make a motion? It's not voting. We need to make a motion so we can get on the voting agenda. Right.
You bring up a good point, Mr. Slaughter. So yeah, from staff perspective, I'm gonna be looking over here at the attorneys. I know you can't have a different vote, but I need some type of consensus from the majority of the board and what direction you all want us to go as far as next steps. And your options are, we could follow the normal process, bring it to the committee, they approve it, and then we bring it to the board 2 weeks later. Or you have the option of it goes to the committee and to the board on the same day. Or your option is to bring it straight to the board.
I think we bring it straight to the board. We're sitting here. It's not only the committees involved, but all the board members are here. I think this should be. We should move it to the board for a vote.
Since we're in discussion, could we just go around one by one and each board member can give their indication of which of those three, and that we can get a consensus that way? No vote, just.
Yeah, no vote, just consensus. Yeah, I agree.
Mr. Chittum, is that?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
30 seconds, go.
Sure. I mean, though we're all here today, since it's not on the agenda, we can't vote on it. I believe that's not possible,
right?
Regardless. I can't imagine what the committee would discuss that we haven't already had the opportunity to discuss here today. So I would say it should just come before the board committee at this point.
Mr. Mickey? I would agree. Committee wouldn't add anything really to what we've done today, and I would vote to go straight to the full board.
Ms. Hammond?
I'm going to also be in support of it moving to the full board. I feel like the community members have been out in just my short time, at least 2 times to show their support. So why would we continue making them come down here to say how they support this? They've told us what they want. Let's just do it.
Thank you. Mr. Kareem?
To the full board as efficiently as possible.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Connor?
I vote that it goes to committee. I had a naming item that came up that went through the committee and tried to come to the board, and then we went back to committee and got delayed for 4 months. I mean, we talk a lot about these naming deals and following proper procedure, and we have board members that aren't present today. I'm based on experience and my most recent experience with these naming policies, it needs to go through the committee.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Goldstein?
Given that we're already discussing it as a full board, I'm comfortable with it coming to the full board at this point.
Thank you. Mr. Wood?
I'm comfortable with it going to the full.
Ms. Hasready?
I'm comfortable with it coming to the full board, but I do want to just say one thing about this whole process. The staff did what they were supposed to do in following the rules of the policy. So I don't want it to reflect poorly on our staff. They did what they did it within the policy that we set for them. So I'm perfectly comfortable with the fact that we went back to that and said, you know what, we're going to make an exception in this case. And I think we're making the exception for the right reasons. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody understands, like, this is, the staff is doing their job. It's our job to say we have the authority to make a decision around that. And I think we're making the right decision. So after our discussion today, I'm very comfortable with it coming before the, not having to go to committee.
Mr. Slaughter?
Happy New Year. You know I'm pro staff, that's why I call Ms. Hamlin up here. Got the best staff in the nation, and I'm going straight to the board.
Dr. Newman?
I've heard a plethora of information from all of you guys, and more importantly, from the family speaking here today. I would recommend we go straight.
And Ms. Mondale? We're just doing everybody, it looks like we got more people in support of going straight to the full board, so, next thing we'll need a motion. Move it to the full board or not? Okay, got it. Just want to make sure we need. All right. All right, now moving on to our next item. Briefing item. A briefing item, contract fee structure program, Mr. Steve Baker.
It wasn't just strategic for optics. I was asking myself. Yeah, it wasn't just negative. People were saying like.
Yes. All right, we have Mr. Baker here to talk about our great contract fee instructors program. I know folks don't realize that we have so many small business folks who work in our rec centers that augment our services, and we do help them find additional jobs. So this time I wanted Mr. Baker to make this presentation so you all can understand how our contract fee instructors work, but more than anything to understand how we think of the park system. We do think of recreation, but we never think about those small business opportunities that our recreation centers and our parks provide those opportunities to.
Great. Thank you. Good morning, Steve Baker, Interim Assistant Director for the Recreation Services Division. I'd like to thank the board for this opportunity to discuss, Mr. Jenkins mentioned, our contract fee instructor program that we have. I believe this is the first time that we've brought this topic forward to the board, maybe ever. But we wanted to just make sure that you are aware of what's going on in our centers, how we go about working with our instructors, our staff's roles, and just the vital importance that these programs provide to support our recreation program. There's a lot of beneficiaries through the contract fee process. Most importantly, our participants, our residents are the ones who are participating in the program's benefit. Again, we provide that opportunities for small businesses, which we'll get into, and ultimately the Park and Recreation Department in the city of Dallas. So with that, we'll move forward. So as we work through, we'll look at the purpose of and the role of a contract fee instructor within the field, the importance of the instructors in Parks and Recreation, Again, we'll talk about the small business opportunities that this program presents. We'll talk a little bit about the requirements and responsibilities that the instructor and the staff will play in the process of becoming an instructor before they get onboarded. We'll talk about the service agreements that we enter into on an annual basis. That includes the revenue sharing portion. We'll share a little bit of the historical data post-COVID that you'll see a very positive upward trend there. We'll additionally talk about our recruitment efforts. I think kind of just give a snapshot of the programs that we do actually provide in the recreation centers or other rec facilities, and we've got a small coverage map as well. So the purpose of our contract fee instructor program is parks and recreation departments across the country thrive because of great partnerships with skilled contract instructors that are providing engaging and educational opportunities for all of our residents. So our department strives to serve a wide range of classes, a wide range of ages of participants, from families, children, teens, senior citizens, and the program offerings that the contract fee instructors are able to provide to us. They offer many different levels of that programming. So they have an introductory or beginner class, they have an intermediate, and they also provide advanced classes. Helps us build meaningful relationships and connections with our instructors to teach and lead classes in specific areas that ultimately bonds the participant, the instructor, and the staff to the center and the department potentially for a life. Just forming those connections so beneficial. We're able to provide the best quality classes and service to our community at an affordable rate. And another exciting benefit that I mentioned earlier again is the ability to work with our small business partners. The importance of the contract fee instructors, they provide us a pool of skilled professionals to draw from when required, contributing to our overall program diversity and adaptability. As Mr. Jenkins mentioned earlier, they provide a wide range of programs that allow us to augment our program offerings to make us even bigger and greater throughout the system. They're cost effective versus us having to have full-time staff on board and to be able to offer benefits to those individuals. We can more effectively manage our budget as well. The same goes for the instructor as well. If they have a limited number of staff, or if they have additional staff, that they don't necessarily need to provide as much support for them as well, but they can also be able to give them an opportunity to work with us. Flexibility. So we can hire and schedule contractors where we need to kind of round out our program offerings throughout the system. They bring along that specialized, unique skill and expertise, and that may not necessarily be immediately available within our immediate staff. Allows them to teach their niche or niche classes or workshops with us. And again, offering a wider range of program activities throughout the department. Again, we talked about the benefits here of the small business opportunities, provide small businesses with an opportunity to deliver services without the additional overhead costs of a brick and mortar, having those additional pressures of trying to make a monthly payment for a lease or a loan, whatever the case may be. So it allows them that little bit of flexibility in that regard. Increased visibility. They have the opportunity to provide, we have the ability to provide additional exposure to their program and their skill set to be able to provide multiple levels of the activities within their specialty area. In many cases, the instructors are passionate about their activity and the activity that they are instructing, and they take great pride in the knowledge that they are sharing with others and watching their participants grow and develop. That passion and dedication can be contagious, and it's demonstrated by the instructor and captured through the participants. Again, that's kind of helping form that long-lasting relationship between the instructor between the instructor, the participant, and also the facility where they're gaining that experience. And finally, they gain experience with a credible partner. We have so if we're looking to expand our program, if they're looking to expand their programs, then they've got a reference with us that we can vouch for them, that they have provided excellent service for us. We might be able to incorporate them into other recreation centers within our own system, or they may be looking to expand even further to where they are going to other cities to offer their services as well as a possibility. We also use this as it's a great tool for them if they are looking to come into the Dallas Park and Recreation Department from another agency, from another area of the country, whatever the case may be. Then we can reach out to those departments, and then we know that they have a viable, a good reference on their behalf. And then we get into the instructor requirements. So the first thing that our applicants, our instructors need to do is they need to submit a contract fee program proposal to us. They do that through our website. One of our staff members reaches out, engages with them over the phone, learns a little bit more about the program, what they're looking to accomplish, and then we guide them through the requirements of what is expected by the city of Dallas to become a contract instructor for this. Excuse me. So with that, all of our instructors, they need to be a registered vendor with the city of Dallas. They need to be registered with the county clerk, registered with the Secretary of State. We do complete background checks on all of the instructors, as well as any staff that they have, any subcontractors that they may come in to help provide those levels of service. And so everybody is background checked before they are able to work with any of our participants at any age level, group. We require that they be certified in first aid, CPR, and AED, and that in certain instances they may be required to, they need to be provide insurance. Excuse me, I skipped. We need to make sure that they're certified or they have documented experience to teach in what they're claiming is their specialized area. So we want to make sure that if they claim that they want to instruct Zumba, we need to make sure that they are certified with Zumba, because if they're not certified through the Zumba agency, then we are not able to advertise the program as Zumba. It would be more of an aerobic program. So, and there's a way that we can go into those websites, search a name, and identify that the person is actually certified to them. Staff responsibilities, again, talked about, we have those initial phone conversations with them, guide them through the application process. And while we're doing that, we work to make sure that the application is complete. We work with the applicant to identify a work location, what kind of part of town are they looking to work in, or what area of town are they looking to provide their service. And then we do a handoff to where we connect the instructor with a center supervisor, a center coordinator to try and make the program to help make that a reality. And while we're doing that, we're doing reference checks to make sure that the instructor meets all of the eligibility requirements were mentioned on the previous slide. Our staff work with the Office of Park and Recreation Department Procurement Office. We work very closely with our City Attorney's Office on our service agreements and our administrative actions that get routed all the way through up to our Park Board President and then to the City Secretary's Office. We work with our PKR, our IT department, to make sure that all of our classes are built into the system as well. Our service agreements include, they're normally a term not to exceed 1 year. We have the ability to separate within 30 days with writing, with or without notice. They outline a 70-30 revenue share. So we collect 100% of all the program registration fees. And at the end of each month, we return 70% of those fees to the instructor for their services rendered, and the city retains 30% that goes towards our general fund obligation. And then finally, the instructors have the ability to earn up to $100,000 annually through that process. Here's a look at our historical numbers. Again, these are post-COVID. You can see that each year, each of our numbers have increased, whether they be the number of instructors, the total revenue that we've collected, the instructor revenue breakdown is, and what the city's portion is as well. And so again, it's a 70-30 split. I did some rounding here, so there's a couple pennies missing, so forgive me for that, to put the decimals in there. And then finally, our recruiting piece. Again, as I mentioned, the proposal forms can be submitted through our website. We staff this in-house recruiting as they are meeting with community members. People are coming into the building saying, talking about their general experiences that they've had at a rec center, and just kind of forging those connections to see if there's a possibility of gaining a new instructor. We do social media and website promotions. And then we are looking to, we will be launching a recruitment fair here in the spring to try and gain additional instructors for future programming moving forward. And then just a quick snapshot of some of the programs that we offer. We do have multiple offerings of martial arts, karate, soccer, and sports skills. So we have a lot of those different areas throughout the department. And then finally is our coverage map. Give you an idea of the locations of where our instructors are actually working. So we've got 64 instructors. They're at 26 locations, and they're providing 24 different programs. So again, we've got about approximately 60% coverage throughout the department there. So. And that's the final slide.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. Appreciate that.
Thank you. That was excellent. It's always interesting to see how we kind of keep all of your rec centers busy and programmed properly. This is, a lovely piece of information because I'm looking at it. We have 64 people doing all these wonderful programs, and we are making almost $400,000. So for us at Park and Rec, that is something we need to really take heed of and be proud of. My question for you, because I've heard a little feedback out in the world about this, is that the process to onboard is pretty significant. Like, I don't know how long all that takes, but I gotta imagine it's not quick. So I would just do everything we can in our power when it comes to onboarding these folks to make it a simple process, because if that's our payout here, that's pretty wonderful. And then the second thing is, these are all one-year contracts. And I know we have had some people in our programs that have been doing it like 5, like long-term people. Do they have to go through that whole process of re-registering and re-proving up everything on that list every year?
So the process has gotten smoother here recently, let's say within the last few years, since we kind of had to move to the electronic version of COVID. But there have been different requirements that we've been asked to by the city to make sure that we are, that we are upholding. So we walk through, we make it as easy as possible for us. First time you go through it, yes, it can be very cumbersome. Once you have your city ID number, you're registered with the state, you've got your certification, and provided that to us. We do make as good information as possible so that they don't have to keep providing that to us. The things that would need to be updated are your CPR, first aid, certification, again, your example of Zumba, just to make sure that we're all current there.
So when on the renewal, it's a quicker process?
Yes.
Okay, and then has there ever been any discussion about having some of those long-standing contracts be long, instead of just being for a year?
If Steve would give you an example of one just recently. Gymnastics.
Yeah, so we have a gymnastics and cheer RFP that's been out for some time. So we're working to try and kind of get that finalized. So that's going to be a multi-year agreement.
I gotcha. Because I just think that would, if I was going through all the trouble to be to work with you and have this partnership, it would be better if it weren't just 1 year. Because I got to imagine you're before your 1 year is up, you're already starting to think about, oh, I got to refill out my application and I got to make sure all my certifications. So I think that just makes it more cumbersome for people that could be really great partners, and we're getting a really nice cut of what they're doing, and it improves our programming. So it's a win for everybody. I just want to make sure that we and staff are doing everything we can to make that as streamlined as possible. And if there's a way to make it a longer, I think that would be good for some of the people who are going to invest in a lot of like resources and equipment and things that, again, so we're looking at that. Excellent.
Well, bring up the point. I mean, there's the flip side to it. Believe it or not, this probably is the most efficient way to get them on board, because if we hit we will have to put this out for an RFP for every last one of those instructors, and then you have to have. So believe it or not, once they get in the system, it's the most efficient way versus them going out for an RFP. We have to go out for an RFP
for 64 different.
Yes.
Okay, well, thank you. Keep up the great work. I love to see that list of programming is great, that we offer all of those things. And to your point, we don't have to be out there putting out RFPs for all of those different.
Thank you, Ms. Yafeuh. Ms. Mondale?
It seems like it's easier to get your park named after you right now, as opposed to getting hired by the city. I mean, this has always been an issue with, at some point, it gets stuck in the system. And it's either HR from the outsource or HR from the city. Is that a help? Is that now streamlined with you?
You must be speaking about HR risk
management. Could be, yes.
We've made a lot of progress with the Office of Risk Management, the City Attorney's Office, on providing them all of the information that is needed if we sure that they've got what they need. We've kind of we have some definitions determined with the Office of Risk Management that we provide them very clear what the scope of the project is. And they determine, they've got a chart that if insurance is going to be required or not, and they turn around pretty quickly.
So we potentially lost in the past some really good teachers. Do we have those names that we've ever been able to reach back out and be like, hey, our system's streamlined, or, I mean, come back for senior chair yoga or whatever like that? Are we doing any of those initiatives? So I think what you're doing is great, and what you just, pitched to us or showed us. But I just want to make sure that, we've lost some really good opportunities in the past for our constituents and people. So is that at all happening?
I can't say that it has. I'd like to get some more information from you for some specifics on that, so we can look into it.
Okay.
But again, these are some small business opportunities. Some do stay for 10, 15 years, 20 years or longer.
Yeah.
But some disappear after a year.
No, I mean, I know.
What they are. I'd like to get some specifics from you, but we can look into that for sure.
No, I mean, BDB is a great partner. Like, we have wonderful partners, and I just know that because of some of our obstacles. So I think with the programming and the opportunities are great. So thank you for all you're doing. I just would love to see a little bit more communication from our branch managers in the rec centers to the programming, to then you, to then us. So
that's going to be part of our recruitment piece as well, and our recruitment fairs, is letting them know kind of what the process is, kind of help guiding them through that, giving them a point of contact that they can work with, because it is a little bit of back and forth with the electronic signature process and things of that nature. But everybody's made a lot of progress technology-wise here.
And then this might be off topic, but with our branch managers changing from, we're moving them around a little bit, or is that also helpful for them to then know what's happening at other, the rec centers, and then the programming here, and then, that's this teacher, is that potentially
yes, I believe if there is staff movement, I think regardless, I think staff is aware of what programs are being offered at other areas. We do have team meetings, they have service area meetings with all the facility supervisors, to where they discuss, their successes and their challenges as well. But they share that information.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Mondale. Mr. Stickney.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. A question on page 9 under historical revenues. I noticed that between 2022, 2023, and 2023, 2024, we had a gain of 4 instructors, but our bottom line for the city was an extra $96,500 roughly. That's kind of interesting. I know, what do you think made that, that's a really big bang for 4 more instructors. Are there areas where we make more money, or what's behind that, do you think? Is it possible to know?
So I think it's a combination of a couple of things. I think one, it could be increasing program participation, more class offerings by a certain number of instructors. Again, we talked about we have beginner, intermediate, and advanced classes. You may have a level 1, a level 2, things of that nature. But then I think as the programs, as we've come out of the pandemic, more people are returning to programs. We've seen that continued growth. Are you referring to the last year specifically?
Well, the difference between having 60, where we had a city revenue of $290,000, and the 64, we had $96,000 more from just 4 more instructors. I'm just curious, are there certain activities where we tend to get more participation and more money, and that maybe we would market to that or reach out to those kind of instructors, or is there any analysis of where we get our best bang for the buck? Because there's something going on there that just looks interesting.
Yeah, we can look a little bit deeper into that. I know we do have a few programs that are very popular. The basketball program that Ms. Mondale referenced is very popular. The gymnastics program that's at Ridgewood, the gymnastics cheer program that is over at Walnut Hill. Those are very popular programs as well, and very high participation levels.
And just one more quick question about Walnut Hill. There are 2 enormous gyms there, and one for maybe 25 years has been given over to gymnastics as opposed to basketball. Is that really profitable for us? Because I've noticed, because when I grew up, all those gyms were full of kids playing basketball, and the gymnastics is more expensive. So basically what I say is, if we looked at is there more, are we losing some kids to play basketball to have the gymnastics? And is there so much money that we need the money, or?
It's very beneficial for us to have the gymnastics and cheer programs in those facilities.
And we have basketball there too.
They do. There is another whole gym.
I can testimony.
Yeah, okay.
I'm there for
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dickey. Mr. Wood.
Thank you. Is there any, do we do any kind of polling or surveys of our people to say what type of classes, services would we like to see? I love the fact that you're going to do a vendor fair in the spring or soon or whenever it is. I'd love to be able to give data and say, hey, are you a vendor of this? We're looking for, this type of services in the rec centers. I know that I have seniors that absolutely love chair yoga, and trust me when I say I know you hear when the chair yoga contract runs out, it's on a little bit different program, but those seniors, don't inconvenience them because they just don't feel well if they don't get chair yoga. So I don't know anything about yoga, y'all, but they love it. And they want more of it. So what do they want? Let's maybe put a poll out and just say, what kind of services do you want, so that we can, actively put a list out there and we can advocate for people that we know. Maybe we need a tap dance class, one in the east, north, south, and west, I don't know. I mean, I don't know that anybody does tap anymore, but, maybe they want somebody to teach and, bring something back. So I think that, you're doing great work with the services and the classes. I think we can amp it up and book those rec centers to the gill. We've already made $400,000 historically. I think you could double that in the next 3 years. New leadership.
Let me just comment on that, because you brought up something earlier, and that's why I love the uniqueness about this program and contract fee. To your point, if you have a talent, some unique craft, guess what? You can come to one of our rec centers and we can provide you that opportunity. As long as it meet the requirements when it comes to risk management. That's the uniqueness of this. We provide these type of opportunities. So if you know someone with some unique talent that they want to monetize and provide this recreational opportunity for our recreation participants, please send them our way. Trust me, we are looking for them. And that's why Steve, to your point, Mr. Wood, he's focused on, since now we're really out of the pandemic era, we really are looking at how do we continue to grow this opportunity in every single rec center. Every single rec center, regardless of the income level. And what he didn't mention, sometimes what we do sometimes, when our budget was bigger, I'm just telling you, our budget's tighter now. But in those challenge areas, we would actually do a service agreement to bring a contract fee instructor to get them going so that they could build up that clientele so they could be sustainable on their own. So this is a very unique program. Love it.
No, it's definitely, we're doing well. Thank you.
Yeah, and I like to concur with Director Jenkins said, because my group started as a volunteer group, then we went into a vendor contract, and that's how we grew. But we grew so big that we had to leave the rec center, and just because it was just so big. And that's what the model of this is that if you go in there and you really push it, you can go on your own eventually. And that's hopefully what happened. I know it hasn't happened at Walnut Hill Gymnastics. They've been there a long time, probably 20, 25 years, maybe longer. I don't know if there have been challenges to try to look outdoors. I know it's a little 30-70 is a great split for them, so I know they're profitable. But this model has worked for a long time, and I've seen a lot of people come out of there from karate at Kidd Springs. They have their own location on Hampton, myself, and other people that just became a viable business or a model for the community because of this program. And anybody that's listening should try it with the rec centers and to see if you can get that following, because the following is when you can go on your own. But you got to come out there and you really got to push and not depend on the rec center to push your classes. You have to go out there and do it yourself. But it's a great program. The 37 split has not changed in 20 years. And I know the inflation has gone up, but not the percent has gone up. So we're still getting our dollars value. I would never love to go up on a small entrepreneur, so I would never ever say that. But 30% is a great deal for anybody. The 1-year certification, like Ms. Hansby said, that's kind of tough. But if we're doing it the right way, they can get recertified. Back then, we didn't go through that. We actually once you were in, you were in. Back in 2004, 2005. Once you were in, you were good, and as long as you paid your bills, they never questioned whether you had insurance. And we should be making sure that they're doing their risk management stuff, but so that is correct. But this is a great program, and I'm glad you guys are challenging it. And the numbers, when I was reading the numbers the other day, it was incredible what's going on with the rec center. So this is just something we can challenge our rec services to try to champion more vendors across the city to give more services to our community. So thank you, Steve. Appreciate this. Thank you.
If we got 30% from all the other partners, we could all drive Rolls Royce.
I concur. Thank you. All right. Moving to our other actions, staff announcements. We do have,
I'm not going to sit down this time. I would like to have the honor right now to introduce you to my new service area manager, regional services service area manager.
It's the big bad.
Charles.
No, it's not in that bag.
I have to sit down, Steve. There it is.
Okay, thank you. So let me introduce our new service area manager for the 14 recreation centers, west and north portions of the city of Dallas. She's a longtime employee with us. Her name is Christy Giles Reed.
planners, now effective as of January the 8th, and as well as she oversees our outreach after school program with the Dallas ISD program as well. So really glad to have her in this role and helping continue. So thank you, and have any questions? Get you connected. Thank you.
So we have this historical marker unveiling on Saturday at White Rock Cemetery Garden of Memory. We have 3 community cleanup events on February the 1st at Crawford Park, Glendale Park, Cottonmouth Creek, and Bachman Lake.
Okay, and next liaison reports, Mr. Slaughter. He will come on.
It's on.
Thank you very much. Happy New Year. This is 2025, and being serious, it's a blessing that we all made it. But Ramon and I and Dickie we're trying to put an event, a social event. You know, we're here at this board, and we need to get out and break some bread and socialize. So we're trying to put a jazz event together for this board and some of the community. So we'll update you. Dickie's going to be playing saxophone and kind of whatever, seriously. But we have that dog on so I think that would be something, especially with that board member here, and these type of events when you're out having a good time and letting your hair down, the next day you realize you don't want on the board. So that would be the sense.
Any other?
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Any other reports? No? Any other business to discuss? All right. Hearing no other business, I now adjourn the Dallas Park Board meeting our next board meeting is at 10 a.m. on Thursday, February 6, 2025. I adjourn the Park Board meeting at 12:21 p.m. Thank you, guys.